You see, this bunch here will tell you that we've had evolution, that's why we're here. In this bunch of 6 famous evolutionists, there's actually only one I'd actually regard as being honest, and that's, or clever. And given stupidity and evil are sometimes difficult to distinguish, I don't know whether he is honest or clever, So, it's Charles Darwin himself, actually. He said, whereas the others haven't, because they're not honest or they're not clever, one of them. Charles Darwin said in his book, the case at present must remain inexplicable, i.e., he doesn't know what's going on with it. And if it can't be explained, and if the explanation never exists and can't exist, and may truly be urged as a valid argument against the views here entertained, i.e., if I can't explain this, then my whole theory goes out the window. So Charles Darwin said, he gave the criteria for which, the theory of evolution can be proved to be incorrect, as far as he was concerned, and I agree with him. What's he talking about? He's talking about the Cambrian explosion. Now, you'll hear this bunch of sausages, the other 5, constantly witter on that life on Earth took for billions and billions of years to form. Well, the universe is only 13 billion years old, and the Earth is meant to be only 4 billion years old, and life 4.6 billion years old. And life on Earth meant to have started at like 3.9 or something like this years old, something like that. Things vary. But let's say ballpark 4 billion. And they seem to think 4 billion is a huge number, and it's not. And what else do they think? They think they have 4 billion years of evolution. But this here is a map of the United States. It's got a line from Los Angeles through to New York. That's 4,000 kilometers, and which, given there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer and 100 centimeters in a meter and 10 millimeters in a centimeter, that's actually also 4 billion millimeters. So you can get a picture of the evolutionary timescale that they're talking about by saying that evolution is like going from Los Angeles to New York at 1 millimeter per year. And then on this map from LA to New York, we can see what happened. Now the reality is, apart from trioblites and bacteria and that sort of level of life form, all the way from Los Angeles, all the way through these states here, very few of which I can name off the top of my head. You can see Missouri there. Nothing happened. Nothing happened all the way here. Nothing happened all the way here. It's only when we get to something like about Pittsburgh, right close to New York, that something happens. And what happens is the Cambrian explosion. And then what happens is, on this map, you're starting off at Pittsburgh with nothing but bacteria and trioblites and small little bits and pieces like this. And then within 20 kilometers, from there, 20 kilometers later, you have all life on Earth as we know it. Reptiles, birds, mammals, fish, all those kind of stuff. They just appear, almost like Genesis. So that's the map. Charles Darwin knew that, and he said, he was honest enough to say, well, if that is what happened, then my theory doesn't work. His theory, based on he'd had millions of years. He wrote his book when he was getting ill and he was dying, and he still hadn't filled this gap in. And he published his work as a rush, as it were. And he was kind of hoping, or suggesting, basically saying that if you can find fossils of animals going all the way back to the beginning, then the game is on. If you can't, it's just not enough time. We need billions of years, he reckoned. I still think that's still not anywhere near enough, but we'll come on to that another time. But for the in terms of what he saw, millions of years absolutely not enough time to create animals from nothing, essentially. So, he was honest enough to know that. So when you describe, if you were to, given that you now know this, an honest person, kind of an honest person or a clever person, you're clever now, because now you know these things. If you're also honest, you would not describe evolution as we've had millions and billions and billions and billions of years for life to form on Earth. You'd be honest and say, we had 20 million years to for all life on Earth to appear. And then you say, and that's not enough time. And that's where your honesty matches to your cleverness. Since Darwin's time, they've had a look. They've looked and they looked and they looked, and all they've found so far is the Chinese version of the Cambrian explosion, which happened over a shorter period of time of something like 5 million years. So, yeah, a blink of an eye, not enough time for evolution. So, there you go. So we have 6 evolutionists and 1 clever and honest evolutionist. And the rest of these sausages, nonsense.